The member for Mount Waverley.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. And what a great delight to be able to stand up and talk about education and our teachers again. And we do it very often in this House because our teachers and our educated assistants in our schools are such a crucial part of our society, in our lives, in our children's lives, and going on. Investments we make in the education sector, in the quality of our teachers, like this bill goes to, are investments that we will reap the benefit of for generations to come. So when we talk about the billions of dollars that the Andrews government has put into education over the last 5 years, we know that that is investment of 1 point so many billions of dollars in the future of our state. That's a legacy that I believe we will all be very proud of sitting in the Treasury benches, because we can look back when our time is over and say we contributed to the beneficial nature of the education of our kids. Now, this bill goes to amend the Education and Training Reform Act 2006 to clarify and enhance the existing powers of the VIT, the Victorian Institute of Teachers, with respect to the approval of initial teacher education programs that lead to qualifications for entry to teaching in schools. And I'm quite familiar with the VIT. Not personally, I'm not a member of the VIT, I'm not a teacher, but my wife is a teacher. Rebecca is a teacher and has been for years. And as I've said before in this House, my mother was a teacher and my mother-in-law is a teacher. My brother-in-law is a teacher assistant. I am so full of teachers at family gatherings that I can't help but learn. Well, I'm sure they do love me. They tell me so, and I tend to believe them. It's easier that way. But I would say that I think I require that many teachers because I'm probably a slow learner. Now, when I get onto something, I stick with it, but sometimes it takes me time. Now, on that, I will go to, and it's actually interesting to see the member for Ferntree Gully here. Good to see him. Now, obviously, I grew up in the district of Ferntree Gully, and a school that's in your district is Fair Hills High School, which is the high school I went to. And when we're talking about teachers, and when we're talking about teacher quality like we are today, we all remember that teacher in our life, and if we're lucky there's a few of them, that changed the way we think about the world. Whether it be changing light bulb moments on aspects of science or arts or the law or finger painting. It doesn't matter, there will be teachers that we remember. Now, I remember a certain teacher from Fair Hills High School, Mr Henderson. Now, Mr Henderson lived relatively close to us in Ferntree Gully. He was across the park down at Sandgate Boulevard. And I was one of those students who spent the first 4 or 5 years of high school doing pretty well, didn't really have to work that hard, sort of just all worked. And then I got to HSC, which it was at the time, and things got very serious all of a sudden. And so it took me a little while to catch up. And I remember getting the September tests as they were then, and my maths PE teacher was Mr Henderson, and my results were not good. I think 22% or something thereabouts, not a great score. So this sort of woke me up. I do have a feeling that the teachers put this in to wake us up, which is probably a clever idea. Obviously I was a little bit nervous about this. And I spoke to Mr Henderson, I probably need to lift my game a little bit. And he said, look, I'll tell you what, Matt, you come over to my place on Saturday and Sunday at 3 o'clock for the next few weeks. You can run practice exams on my kitchen table while I'm mowing the lawn and working in the garden, and when you're finished, I'll come and mark them for you and we'll go through it. Now, he didn't have to do that, but that's what we did. And it ended up that Maths B was my best subject in HSC. So forever I will thank, and Mr Henderson, if you ever are going to listen to this or read this, forever I will thank Mr Henderson for that attention. so many times our teachers go above and beyond the call of duty. It isn't just a job, it's a vocation. You know, we all remember the old film Goodbye Mr Chips, and you know, everyone loved Mr Chips. Well, there are so many Mr or Mrs Chips in the Victorian education system, and we need to back them. And this bill does back them, because what this bill is doing is partially making sure that the qualifications of our teachers are not in doubt. Now, I don't doubt them at all, but sometimes people will wonder. And so having these levels that we are talking about in a bill like this today, make sure that there's that level of respect that our teachers deserve, they will receive. So I was delighted to see that Fair Hill's got some money in the previous budget as well on the side. And I should also mention that the fantastic schools in my area, which also have fantastic teachers in Mount Waverley, are also as well deserving of every praise that Mr Henderson and many other teachers that I had are. Now, the Andrews Labor government is further strengthening the regulation of school teaching qualifications to ensure Victorian students get the high quality teachers and a high quality education. And when it comes to learning, as I said, the importance of those great teachers can't be understated. And I look at my kids now, and a number of us have talked about the learning from home. And I did hear one of my colleagues, and I didn't actually see who it was, but I heard while I was in the office one of them say, you're not quite sure about the idea of calling it home learning. And I agree, it was learning from home. To watch my kids all learn completely differently. And I know at times keeping them on track at home was a little difficult. So I put my mind to our fantastic teachers who have 20 odd of these kids all learning differently in the same classroom and doing a fantastic job of not only keeping them in line but teaching them all the things they need to learn. If there's an easy way to learn that skill, I am in line. I think that'd be good to know, because we know intuitively that highly effective teachers can have an enriching effect on the daily lives of children, and I think we're all in this house the product of that. Now, using data from about 500,000 studies, Professor John Hattie, Director of the Melbourne Education Research Institute at the University of Melbourne and lead investigator into the Science of Learning Research Centre, he conducted a meta-analysis and ranked various influences of student learning and achievement. And he found that the impact teachers have on student learning is greater than other factors that often dominate our public debate, such as class size and technology and individualised instruction. It's the teachers that make a difference. And the influence with the most effect by far were those teacher-related expectations for their students and their level of expertise and their training. So we can also, as was mentioned, as was acknowledged by the Minister of Education, that we recognise the great work of our tertiary sector in preparing our aspiring teachers. And we are looking forward to working with these providers to develop the next generation of teachers for our schools. The next generation. And that, when I think about education, it is my favourite subject to talk about in this house, it's always about the next generation. What do we leave for them? And I would say this bill, the series of education measures, the investment in our education system year after year from this government, I think we're leaving them with some pretty good options, and I commend the bill to the House.